Thank you, Kumu and Ryan. How beautiful. It has been stated that the universe is indeed the realm of endless possibilities. The realm of endless possibilities, and the only thing that limits the creative power and our ability of using this creative power is our very own belief, our faith in what is and what is not possible. This month we have been reminded through the principle, the power, the spiritual quality, attribute of the soul as identified by Charles Fillmore in his writings, The 12 Powers, that the power for the month is faith. And through faith we are able to lasso, or we're able to shape this infinite possibility, to transform the possibilities into realities, into our experience. And as we consider this idea, for the next few minutes, we'll speak from the subject, a living faith, a faith that makes the invisible visible. A living faith, a faith that is alive, a faith that is transformative, a faith that is empowering, a faith that is motivating, a faith that is encouraging, a faith that is uplifting, a faith that is in such movement. It's a force. It is an energy. It carries a vibration. It's on a particular frequency that calls the universe. It calls that which seems to be invisible into visibility, into our experience, a living faith. I asked the question this morning. It would not be a rhetorical question. It really does require an answer. How many of you consider yourself to be applying a living faith? You're living in faith in your life today. You're using this divine power. And I promise you, you don't need to ask for any more faith. You don't even have to pray for any more faith. You have all the faith that you could ever want, hope for. All we have to do, as Eric Butterworth would often said, Eric Butterworth, the Unity minister there in New York, he would often say that all we got to do is stir up the faith, as Paul told Timothy, stir up the gifts that are already within us. We are imbued with divine power. And what often happens is most people are so unaware of it. And remember, Emily Cady says in her book, Lessons in Truth, that the primary cause of human suffering is forgetfulness. And the secondary cause of human suffering is wrong thinking. When we forget who we are, we begin to think all of the wrong stuff, and we create all of this mess in our lives to come back to the awareness, which is the key. The awareness that we are how God is showing up on this earth. You are how the divine has chosen to take form and to create something out of nothing in this experience. As we consider this idea, a living faith, a faith that makes the invisible visible. We were reminded in Charles's own words that faith is the perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability, the power to shape substance. When we talk about substance, it's not a foreign concept or a foreign idea to us here. We understand what we're talking about when we say substance. We're dealing with this universal stuff. It's invisible stuff. Substance is that which stands under everything in the manifested, in the physical, and in the spiritual realm. Dr. Catherine Ponder called this stuff the gold dust of the universe. Dr. Johnny Coleman called it the Play-Doh of the universe. She says we can take the dough of the universe, and through our very own faith, belief, our thinking, and our speaking, we can shape and mold it, and we can give it expression. And then we can speak the words as we're reminded in the book of Genesis. In the beginning, it says that when the creative power of the universe stood there in the midst of nothing, created everything simply by saying, "Let there be. Let there be light." And don't you know, friends, we have that same power. We have the same ability. It's not a different one. It is the same authority that we can use to commission the universe to begin to... Oh, I love it when I hear that the universe is just waiting to respond to our command. But we have to give it the command that we want to see manifested in our experience. Ernest Holmes, in his writing, Science of Mind, says it, and I often say it. You've heard it. If you've heard it once, you probably heard it 1,000 times since I've been here. He says that when we use our faith to shape substance, when we use our faith, a living faith, not a dead faith, not a faith that is dying, not a stagnant faith, not a faith that we work with only on Sundays, but it's a living faith. It's an active faith. It's a faith. It's the energy that we're working with constantly. He says when we began to use and work with this kind of faith, all of nature begins to conspire to manifest and produce our freedom, that it may unloose its own energy on our behalf. Everything and everybody will begin to work on your behalf. People will show up. You remember the movie A Field of Dreams? People will show up in your experiences like innocent children, not knowing why they have come to you to be a blessing to you. You'll meet them in the car. It could be the taxi driver. It could be the Uber driver. Is it Uber? It could be the Uber driver. It could be the person sitting next to you on the trolley. It could be the person standing in front of you in the line as you're waiting to check out of your favorite department store. But when we get in the consciousness that all things are possible and that you can shape the invisible substance of the universe, then we can see how magically, it seems like it's magic and miraculous, that things just start working. You get in the zone. It's like you're just in the right place at the right time. You can't explain it. Everything is happening and it's going your way. Anybody know what I'm talking about? If you don't know, it's time to start working with this living faith, baby, so it can work for you. You get into that place and space, and you don't have to push and struggle. You don't have to manipulate, dominate, or coerce, or control. You don't have to force the universe to do anything good. All we got to do is learn how to accept it and call it forth. Say, come on in. Come on in. And you do that with your very own beliefs, and your thoughts, and your words. See, faith is more than just a thinking process. That's part of it. Our thoughts and our words must align. If not, we are unequally yoked within ourselves. You know you can be unequally yoked with yourself. Oh, yes, you can. You can have one intention for life, one intention for good, one thought, but then your words are speaking something totally opposite. So the two are in opposition. But when we bring the thoughts and the words and the feelings into alignment, then you're sitting in the seat of creation. And by right of being in that seat, you can begin to call forth the invisible into visibility. As we consider this idea, and I was considering the words of the Queen, and we're reminded just last week of how there are so many, and even in here, you've been working this living faith. It's a faith that's living, it's active, it's creative, it's so expansive. You're doing the seemingly impossible. How many of you have had something seemingly miraculous to happen, at least within the past 7 days? You can't explain it. It was just out of you. There's no need of even trying to explain it. You tapped into something. And when faith is really faith, you don't even have to explain it. But when we really tap into it, it comes forth like this living water, this river. It just bursts forth, as the prophet Amos says, coming your way. As I'm reminded of this idea, I was drawn to in my the information that I received to Queen Liliuokalani. It says that she tapped into this wellspring of faith. And as I heard her story, I was reminded of the late President Nelson Mandela, who for 27 years was there in a cell. You know, the body can be imprisoned, but your mind can be free. And if you can free your mind, you can free your behind and everything else that follows. If you can free your mind, and it's been said, if you can get the mind of man, if you can capture and control man's mind, you have everything that he owns. And that's what often happens. And for so many, don't even realize that their mind has been enslaved and entangled by energies outside of themselves. But if you can free your mind, You can free your relationship. You can free your money. You can free your family. You can free your children. You can free your home. You can free your career. You can free any manner of good that you desire. It says there for 27 years in prison, but his mind was free, and he soared across this country, his land, the continent, and he began to work with freedom and liberation. As I considered this, and I was drawn to Queen Liliuokalani's prayer. It says on March 22nd, 1895, while under house arrest in her own palace, she began to tap into a level of faith that kept her calm and assured and forgiving. Oh, that's some good faith right there. Faith that helps you to forgive. To free yourself. Remember, forgiveness is for you. It's not for me. I forgive you for myself. To forgive means to give for some actual definite good in return for the seeming wrong. When I forgive you, I have freed myself from any seeming shackles or chains that I've attached to you. And the same happens when you choose to forgive another. It says there in that space, she began to work her faith. She tapped into it. And said she wrote these prayers that many of you might even know. This prayer is called the Queen's Prayer, and you might even know it as the hymn. She was so attuned to the present. She says, your loving mercy is as high as heaven, and your truth so perfect. I live in sorrow imprisoned, but you are my light. Your glory is my support. Behold not with malevolence the sins or error of man, but forgive and cleanse. And so, O Lord, protect us beneath your wings, and let peace be our portion now and forevermore. Friends, a living faith calls us out of victimization. A living faith calls us out of comfort zone and complacency. A living faith becomes what Jeremiah calls fire shut up in the bones. And you can't find peace until you step out and do what your destiny is calling, what your soul is longing for. I was reminded of a story from sacred texts. You know the story, I'm sure. It says when there was a man who he was paralyzed in his legs, and he worked this living faith. He saw what was possible. Not through the facts. You know, we can't see the possibilities through the facts that might appear in life. We have to look beyond the facts. Facts change. Facts will change. But truth remains the same. It says he saw the potential, the possibility of walking, and he held this vision. And he heard that the master physician was in town, and he decided that he wanted to see the master physician. He asked 4 of his friends to carry him to the house where the master physician was. Got there, it was crowded. There's this natural tendency to want to go back. You know, there's no need of trying that. You've already tried that, Jack. Don't even try it. You tried it before, don't even try. It's too many people here. You'll never get in. It will never happen for you. It's just not your lot. It's, just settle for this. Got there to the house and couldn't get in. Crowded. But his friends were quick to suggest that they return and take the man back home. But friends, when faith is really alive in us, faith won't let you turn back. I love what Emily Cady says in her book. She says, there's a natural tendency to want to go back into ignorance. When we come out of ignorance, when we come out of past experiences that wasn't so good, there's this natural tendency of wanting to go back. It's a natural pull. It's like a gravitational pull to go back to what we've known. Someone asked the question, why is it that we would rather suffer known hells than pursue unknown heavens? Because we are afraid of what we cannot see. Afraid of what we think isn't there or might be. Says the man, they wanted to carry the man back home. He says, no. If you can't get through the door, look for a window. They looked for a window. You see, some of us know about that. You didn't have a door open. And sometimes it doesn't take a wide open door. If you can just get a crack in, you get your foot in the door. You can kick that thing open and go on in. Some of you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You've had to kick some doors open to get in. And maybe you had to crawl through some windows to get to your good. But it doesn't matter how you get there. As Alita Adams says, as long as you come to me, baby. You get to your good. And so he said, well, if you can't get through the window, look for a hole in the wall. They looked for a hole, couldn't get there. They said, friend, there's no way of getting to this. There's no way that this is going to happen. He said, I'm too close. I'm too close to my good, and my faith won't allow me to turn around. Not now. I'm too close to it. I'm closer than I've ever been in my life, and I refuse to turn around. I refuse to go back to where I've been and what I've been through. I refuse to go back there. And he said, if you can't get through the wall, take me to the rooftop. Friends, you see, the universe will always provide you an opening. If some of you trying to get out of a situation, the universe will always provide you a way of escape. All you got to do is attune your eyes and your ears. If you're trying to get into some manner of good, it will create an opening. But then you got to know it and take it. Seize it. So they carried this man, their friend, to the rooftop. There was no opening, so they had to create one. So they created a hole in the roof. Some of you might need to start creating a hole in the roof of the universe right now. So they lowered the man down right in the presence of the master physician. And it says that when he saw their faith, see, a living faith is a faith that God sees. When I say God, the universe, the same. A living faith, the universe can see. And then it responds. It says, when he saw their faith, he said to the man, rise, take up your bed, and walk. Friends, that faith, that kind of faith is a living faith. That living faith will never allow you to settle for the little nothingness. Johnny Coleman used to ask the question, why are you down on the floor in life trying to settle for the crumbs? Why are you settling for the crumbs in life when God has prepared this lavish feast for you? Get up off the floor and get to the table where you rightfully belong and enjoy your good. And listen, see, a living faith won't wait on permission. A living faith will not wait for someone to give you permission to get and experience that which belongs to you by your divine right. It's your inheritance. See, a living faith gets a hold of you. It pushes you. It drives you. It compels you. It keeps nudging, it's nudging at you. It's nudging you along. It's nagging you. It's telling you can do this. You can have this. You know how it comes to you? I mean, you know how a living faith works on you? It keeps coming to you in your dreams. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I know it's in here. It keeps coming to you in your aspirations. You keep having these visions, and you have this, people keep telling you this is this and this and this should happen to you. That's a living faith that's alive, and it's trying to take flesh and be born in your life. And all you got to do is say, Lord, I surrender. Here am I. I'm listening. I am open, and I'm ready. I say to you today, friends, get off the floor of life. If you're down there, leave the crumbs down there. I remember Johnny Cole. This is my spiritual grandmother. She would walk around, and she'll walk by a little, all expressions of money is good. If she see coins on the ground, they said, Dr. Coleman, aren't you going to stop him? She was 6'1", built the largest New Thought church in the world, 25,000 members, the largest facility in Chicago, Illinois. They said, Dr. Coleman, aren't you going to bend down and pick up the coin? She said, She says, no, I'll leave that for somebody else. I'm looking for the green. It's too far down there for me to bend down to get it. So I'll leave that for someone else. There's a whole lot of good in the universe. There's good for you. There's good for you. There's some good for you, some good for you. It's a plenty of good for all of us to enjoy. Your faith, your living faith, will make it happen for you. God bless you.